Hello and welcome back. I am James Skiffins.
And I am called Malcolm Childs, and this is the Just Making Conversation podcast.
Where we discuss the swings and roundabouts. Are we going to change that?
Yes, we can.
Bear with listeners.
We don't get this bit right, no one will listen to us. The advantages and disadvantages.
Oh dear.
That sounds so shit. Give and take. Oh, that's terrible.
I pity the person that's got to edit this.
This is nothing, mate. This is nothing. The highs and lows of the model making hobby that either thrill us. Right.
Okay. Where we delve into the highs and lows of the model making hobby that either thrill us or leave us with a dilemma.
From absolute beginner to competition winner and everything in between, we are going to be just making conversation. And just remember, there are other podcasts that you could listen to.
Plastic Model Mojo.
The Scale Model Podcast.
Plastic Posse Podcast.
On the Bench.
Model Geeks.
The Sprue Cutters Union.
Small Subjects.
Built Sideways.
Model by Podden.
The Micro Machines Podcast.
Show Podcast.
And the Modeling Insanity Podcast. Just head to http://www.modelpodcasts.com for all of the links.
If you enjoyed this podcast, you can show your support in two ways. Leave a fantastic 5-star review on your favourite podcast for free, or contribute financially. Visit paypal.me/podcastjmc for a one-time donation, or for a monthly donation, check out our new patreon.com/justmakingconversation. It's as easy as pie.
I also want to mention, if you go to youtube.com/@justmakingconversation, you'll find our YouTube channel, and we have got 10 subscribers.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Oh, no, just dropped down to 9 again. But I don't know why I'm telling you guys, because you're listening to it on the app that you prefer. So why would you need to go on YouTube? It's probably not the best place to tell everyone, is it? It's probably best to do it on Facebook or Twitter or something. Anyway, never mind. We are going to be just making conversation with Richard Middleton from the IPMS UK about the wonderful world of organisation and plastic.
Richard is the Scale ModelWorld Manager and, of course, himself a fine modeller of plastic subjects, but maybe a little more varied than you would first imagine.
So waving our press pass lanyard like Garth from Wayne's World, let's see what we can find out, just what it takes to be the head honcho of the amazing IPMS Scale Model World.
I have managed to paint that there model.
Ooh, okay. What is it?
That there model is a German armoured vehicle, of which I can't remember what it is. It's got SD and an F in it, and it might have a number, but I can't remember. It's basically a reconnaissance, one of those we'll go and have a look vehicles.
Sonderkraftfahrzeug.
Oh, okay, yes. It'll be one of those. Sonderkraftfahrzeug.
There you go. So when you see FDKFZ, you'll just imagine walking to a craft show that's very far, but with Mark Zuckerberg next to you.
Okay.
Then you'll remember it. Sonderkraftfahrzeug.
Yeah. Anyway, so my tractor.
Sorry.
I've been building a German road tractor from the 1950s. However, I think I might have upset it because it's feeling a little blue.
Ooh, it is blue.
So, yes, what I've done is I primed it in a rust primer. I have put some chipping fluid over it, and I've stuck some blue over it, which I believe, if I'm right in saying, is a Prussian blue. I've painted it.
Oh, yeah, Prussian. Yeah, okay.
We'll be playing with it a little bit later this week with some techniques and bits and pieces to make it a bit of a find. So, yeah, that has been pretty much my endeavours this week at the bench. Not a great deal. Lots of paperwork and all exciting stuff.
Paperwork for what?
Oh, paperwork for the amazing show that's coming up.
It's like 20 days away.
No, it's not 20 days. It's more than that. It's 35 days.
That's still not many.
No, it's not many. Yeah. So yeah, I've just been catching up with paperwork and stock taking and all the fine joys that come with running a very small cottage business.
So something you haven't mentioned on Just Making Conversation at all. Well, very limited chat about Spruebox.
Yes.
And it's something that maybe we should open up to the world if you felt comfortable to.
I can come out of the closet. It's not a problem.
Well, and we can talk about Spruebox if you want.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so Spruebox is my own little
company
empire that is very, very small empire. Population of me. We are an alternative online model shop, and it's mainly about inspiration. It's what inspires me, and I hope to inspire other people. The main core of the business is a subscription package, which you pay monthly, and then I send you a box every 3 months with some stuff that I throw in it to inspire you. The purpose of the boxes are to help explore avenues within the hobby that they may not have done before or may have hesitated to try, basically by putting together some items in that box and then the opportunity to watch some videos that are made by myself or other people explaining what's in the box. And then if anyone gets stuck, I'm at the end of a Discord, sit and have a chat, do some model making, pick my brains and say, what on earth have you sent me, you fool? So, yeah, that's the idea of it, to help people understand how to put a diorama together, how to make a house from bits, from scratch. So there was a video explaining how to carve the foam and make bricks.
Yeah.
And then there was the ability to learn how to make windows and door frames and doors and whatever you wanted out of the card. And, of course, some roof tiles for the roof. The idea is that it doesn't matter if you muck it up or not. Because you didn't go through that joyous moment of going into a model shop and choosing the kit, although it's worth the money you paid, it doesn't matter that much whether you muck it up or not. It's all about the experiment, not necessarily the finished thing.
Gotcha. And you're sharing these experiences with everyone else in the group.
Yeah, absolutely. But most people had an attempt and did stuff and enjoyed some bits, didn't enjoy other bits. But I specifically said to them, don't worry about the figures. Have a play. Some people embraced it. Some people thought very much outside the box, which is great because that's using your imagination. That's the whole idea. Thoroughly enjoyed the process. And then the next box that went out, the lovely Rob Herring assisted me because I'm not the biggest and best figure painter, but he went through an explanation of how to do figure painting because the next Rob Herring, yes, indeed. Sorry. The next box that went out was all about painting figures. And that box contained 15 brushes, a set of paints, which were from Model Color, which were the basic colors you needed to make a face. Within that box was a resin head, which was can't think of the actor's name. Really famous actor. Siri,
go ahead.
What were the actors in Zulu?
I found this on the web.
Michael Caine, thank you. That's who I was looking for. Was the figurehead. And Rob took you through the process of cleaning up the resin right from the very, very beginning of what you do, etc., etc. And then the process in which Rob uses to paint a face is exactly the same process that you would use on uniforms and other parts of the figure. So if you learn the basics with the face, which is generally the hardest part, you can apply those then onto the 5 figures that you got in the first box. So some of the people that have joined the subscription package may not get the boxes I've mentioned previously. They'll get something different. And I try my best to keep everybody up with the same sort of subject. The reason being that all the videos are on a Discord server. They're all released at the time once I know everybody's got the box. So there's no sneaky peeks. So there is a little bit of excitement of what the hell has he done now?
It's a bit like when you opened your Musaru Cup building.
Yeah. It is a little bit like Christmas. You open that big box up and find a pair of socks. Most of the guys that are involved, they appreciate the fact that I'm there. If like they are struggling with something, I'm not quite sure, and I'm there to support them through the whole process, however long that takes. So if it takes you longer than 3 months to get to that box that you got, that's fine. I can still talk about it. I'm still there to support you.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason you're paying that money, is because you don't get that when you buy online or anywhere else, where you can pop in and just ask someone at the shop or the online shop a question about the kit you bought 4 months ago. At the moment, it's just a very small little acorn. As that grows, that will improve. So that's the idea of the box. And then obviously the box that's gone out literally a month ago has gone off on a completely different tangent.
Okay.
And we're going down the pigments and barn find sort of approach with something. And again, it's a subject matter that's quite interesting, quite funky. It's a tractor, but it's something in which a lot of people probably wouldn't have bought.
Gotcha.
That's pretty cool.
And that's what the blue tractor is that you're building.
That is what the blue tractor's about, yeah.
There we go.
I tell you what's really exciting about it for me is few of the guys opening up the box and immediately going into that, what can I do with this? Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. And so, I've got people cutting bits of card up and making bits and pieces, which is great. And it's grown to it must have a barn with it. If you're going to find it in a barn, it's got to have a barn with it. And no rightful barn doesn't have a house next to it. And I'm like, well, you're going way off on a tangent. Well, yeah, but I really enjoyed that doing the house last time, so I'm going to do something slightly different this time.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
That's the idea. I'm not trying to make everyone a dioramist at all, and that's not my aim.
Well, that's what you like. That's what you do.
I do enjoy it, and I do feel that models need a context. That's my personal opinion. Not everyone sees it. I get it.
Yeah.
But learning the different skills and different bits and pieces we sometimes shy away from is a good thing. That is my main goal for the business, is to go down that road. I will be promoting quite a lot at Telford because I really want that to become much busier, because we can do so many more exciting things if we get really, really busy. So that's what I'm getting ready for Telford. And that's why it's taken me so much preparation as well, because I hope to have some of those things at the show with me to show what's been gone out and what you can do. But also, if you've thought about it and sort of get it, but not, you can pick a box up at the show, take it home, give it a go.
Yeah.
And if you like what's inside the box and want to sign up, you can do, or you can sign up there and then, whatever.
Well, it's like a curated modelling experience, isn't it? You're deciding, you're like the pulling the strings, saying, like, this is what you're going to build, this is what you're going to do. But, let's see what happens.
The way in which I talk to people about it normally is I like to say the team choose what goes in the box.
Yeah.
And when I say the team, what I mean is me and my several personalities all sit around a table and we discuss what we're going to do.
It's a team of brain cells.
The evil one comes in and goes, what about this? And yeah, we go down that road. There will potentially in the future be some bits in there that aren't really anything to do with the box as such, but might be some free gifts. But the other thing as well, I think the other thing which I haven't said enough actually is part of the reason of doing the box was also to get people to know other suppliers. So, for example, the resin head box that we did with the paint and all that, I made sure that a card went out with that, because that was bought and supplied by Mitch's Military Models, who I love to the earth and back. And if it promotes their business along the way, then that's part of the community as far as I see it.
I see.
Happy to do that. So anyone listening that is in a similar situation with a little business and you want to promote it, give me a shout. We might be able to make a box up.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that idea.
Give them something different and give you a little bit of promotion as well. Happy to help. And of course, with that in mind, that's one of the reasons why we've got Too Thin Coats with us at Telford, teaming up with Rubicon Models. So it's a whole... effectively a community come together to try and promote and provide something to the custom, which I think is fantastic. So we're going to have the team from Too Thin Coats demonstrating the paints at the table in Hall 3, and to show the fact that these paints can transfer into this sort of hobby, i.e. making figures and armor and all that sort of stuff. So Rubicon Models have very kindly provided them with some models in which they can do their demos with, and we'll be promoting Rubicon models as well as tooth and coats. It's going to be exciting. I'm really looking forward to Telford anyway, because I've not been there for a little while. It is purely an extension of everything I've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years, which is community-led, community-based, and for the community. So
I'm not getting paid to promote this, but maybe I will. Come find James at Hall 3 at Telford, top corner. It's spruebox.co.uk. You're also on Facebook under the Spruebox. Go and have a look. That's cool. I like that idea. Really do. Well, I'm a big fan of miniatures, military models. I'm a big fan of Rubicon models. I'm a big fan of tooth and coats. And that's why we never see you building anything.
Yeah, that is one of the reasons why I am not around as much as I have been, because I'm busy running around doing other bits and pieces as well as work. And what have you been up to?
Nothing.
Oh. Well, thank you for that update. That's as good as the Mooserood update, that is.
Oh, God, is there a Mooserood update? Is there a live coming up?
By the time this has gone out, there would have been a live.
Oh, cool. Was it good?
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Cool. Did I enjoy it? Was I there?
Well, I think, to be honest, the thing I enjoyed most of all was all the other people building along with me.
Right, yeah.
Really made me feel like I was special, or just not trusted. One or the other.
Not trusted. Definitely not trusted. Right, I'll show you what I've been doing because, podcast is very visual medium. So I bought one of those.
Oh, yes. LVT2 from Rubicon.
Correct. So talking about Rubicon,
Mm-hmm.
Black Rifle Model Works had their auction very recently.
Yes, and congratulations to them for what they raised.
Kits for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they raised over $6,000, which is
Yeah.
incredible. So great cause. I can't wait to build that. I think Luke's already built that.
Yes, he has it.
He built one of those. And
A Gundam.
a Gundam, yeah, a HD. So I think I spent like 50 quid or something like that on raise some money.
Cool.
Good. So yeah, got myself another Gundam. All that chat about Gundams whet my appetite.
Yeah.
So there you go. The Gundam, if you are interested, is a Astaroth, big blue and white robot with a sword.
Yeah.
So I bought the kits, and then the 747 and shuttle is still waiting. I bought a base. I'll show you that. Oh, there I am, showing you the base.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a base.
It is a big one. It's bigger than my head. It's like 2 heads.
It's a big thing to go onto a big base.
It's a square base, and they'll have the 747 in the middle, and they'll have 200 people standing around it going, "Oh wow, look at that shuttle!" Like they did in 1983.
Mm-hmm.
I told my dad about it. He said, "Oh, have you got a tiny model of a little boy pushing a pushchair because you pushed your sister around the pushchair while we were there?" Well, okay, so I have to find a 1/44 scale boy pushing a pushchair. This is going to be fun somehow.
Mm.
So I got 200 figures to paint as well.
I'm looking forward to the 200 figures.
But as I said before, I've moved my shed around and stuff, and so I haven't got into it, and I've been incredibly stupidly busy with other stuff, which has got really in the way. But I plan November and December to take time off, and then I will be in my shed a lot. And it's also starting to get cold in here already.
Yeah, temperature is falling.
I'm about to go to the Remy show, which is over at Lynham.
Oh.
I'm going to head down to the Tank Museum this week to do some model making with some Armed Forces serving personnel.
Nice.
Well, part of their On Track Day, as it is Mental Health Month. That's me. That's us. We need to do what we're supposed to do. We've got Mr. Richard Middleton wrapped up in a tarp somewhere. It's very macabre, isn't it?
Well, this is the problem, you see, when you're doing a tarp build, you just constantly coming across tarps everywhere. Normally, you just walk on by.
There are lots of crumbs surrounding this particular tarp that don't look like hobnobs, may I say. We're going to go interview IPMS UK's Scale Model World Manager.
Absolutely, yeah. Do we need any cheese?
Cheese?
Wow, he's the big cheese, isn't he?
Welcome, Mr. Rich Middleton, to the Studio A, which is this podcast recording. Hello, Richard.
Hello, both. How are you?
Very good.
Going very well. We thought we'd have you on for a chat.
As if by magic.
There's a small event approaching on the horizon, one that some of us model makers look forward to in the UK.
Yes, a little shindig
and also find out about what Rich Middleton does in terms of model making and your hobby and the IPMS and any other little nuggets of information that we can squeeze out of you.
I think the first question I want to kick off with, I've noticed there seems to be some crumbs underneath the tarp there. What is your biscuit of choice?
Ooh, biscuit of choice. I'm rather partial to a caramel wafer, the tonics thereof.
Are they biscuits? I'm not sure.
Well, they're wafer biscuits, aren't they?
Oh, okay.
It's not a hobnob, but I would let that go.
Oh, chocolate hobnobs are very much up there. Don't get me wrong.
Good recovery.
Tonics has diplomatic immunity in my book. So, pass the first test.
That's good.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about you and your hobby. What floats your boat, so to speak?
Okay, I'm mostly into things automotive, usually cars, occasionally bikes, and even now and again a truck. That said, I will build anything and everything ultimately. This year, for instance, I've completed an articulated tractor unit, Raspberry Ripple Lynx helicopter. I have numerous cars on the go at the moment, which are heading, hopefully, if they get finished, towards Telford. And my most recent endeavour is to put the Maltese camouflage scheme onto a Vickers light tank.
Wow.
That's me. It's just what floats my boat at any given time.
Yeah, that's interesting. How long have you been model making for?
As long as I can remember. The usual kind of thing, I guess, for people of a certain age, 7 years old, I guess, and never really put it down. Never had that period away with things like university or families or drinking. That never got in the way of it. Didn't say I didn't do it, but I didn't get in the way of the model making.
Tale as old as time.
Yes. Well, something like that feels like it.
It's almost everybody's story, isn't it? I wasn't good looking enough to be worried about girls. I didn't have enough money to worry about cars. So you've got an interest in cars. Tell me about that.
I do. I'm lucky enough to have a number of real ones, various states of disrepair. Daily driver is a Jag.
Which one?
It's an XF estate.
Nice.
That's my daily driver, so that gets me from A to B very comfortably. Also, being an estate, it means I can go to model shows comfortably. And also, I go down to France on a regular basis, on an annual basis, because I go down to Le Mans every year.
Oh, I see.
24-hour race.
Wow. So you go every year?
This year was my 31st year.
Wow.
So the only 2 years I've missed since I first went in 1991 were the 2 pandemic years. And we camp every year.
Well, the weather would be nice in June, wouldn't it?
Usually, but it's not a guarantee. A lot of races have had quite wet sessions in amongst them. So this year we got lucky. We missed the rain. Yes, we have got very wet before now.
So when did Le Mans start then as a race? In the 70s?
1923.
What? Okay.
And this year was the centenary celebration. So it was a particularly busy year this year. They had something like, if I remember rightly, 60 previous winners' vehicles there.
Blimey.
So you can imagine the value of the grid as that went down the start line. So it's a boys' weekend, basically.
Tell me about the special interest group.
Right, so yes, I am the leader of the car and motorcycle SIG within IPMS. So we tend to focus more on the road going rather than the racing or the hot rods or the modifieds and things like that.
Okay.
There are other SIGs that obviously I'm a member of as well that focus on those particular areas of specialism, so we say.
Yes. And what about the motorcycle side of it? Are you interested in bikes as
well? I've never ridden a bike. I never learned to ride a bike. I've always been into the 4 wheels rather than the 2. Just my focus, really. I've got a lot of respect for the guys that do ride them, but it's not my thing.
You mentioned you've done a few trucks here and there. Do you ever go to some truck shows and stuff like that?
Been to Gaydon once, see the model truck show there. Seriously impressive stuff that goes on there. And I did do one of the truck fests when it was at Peterborough. Whether they're still there or not, I'm not sure now. But
you're still being on the showground.
Yeah,
I think it's there last year at that particular showground this year.
That was many moons ago when I went there.
So, why the tank? I mean, I know you said that you do things that float your boat, but why that particular tank and that particular scheme?
Well, I'm also a member of IPMS Rutland, is my local branch, or one of the more local ones. And we've got a bit of a theme going on for Telford this year called just generally camouflage.
Okay.
Ooh.
And I was desperately trying to find something different to do.
Yep.
And recall scheme they used on a lot of vehicles actually on Malta during the war was sort of a brick pattern, for want of a better description. They mimicked the local brick walls, stone walls,
Oh.
and they painted their tanks accordingly. And things like Bedford trucks and Tillies and things like that, they're all painted in a very similar scheme.
That's something I didn't know.
I thought it was little bit different, I thought.
Mm.
What's it called? Has it got a name? The brick camo?
Don't think it had a particular name. I only know it as the Malta camo scheme.
Okay, is that kind of like the Berlin camo?
No, it's straightforward. The old, what was it? It's sort of very pale yellow desert colour. I believe they either used green or a dark brown to paint the bricks on. Outlines, the mortar areas.
Oh, they actually look like bricks.
Or stones or whatever. I did read, whilst I was researching it, things like the trucks tended to have a set brick pattern, whereas things which were more random shaped, like a Vickers or a Matilda, were more random stone shapes.
Oh, okay.
A bit of thought went into it.
I guess at a distance, behind some trees.
In the olive groves behind a wall, and you have to look twice, I guess.
Have you got any photographic evidence of those?
I've finished the Vickers camouflage in earlier, so I could send that one to you.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
It's tiny, very thin brush to get that paint on.
So you did it by hand?
Yeah, oh yeah. It's the Airfix come JB models.
Yeah,
tiny little thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that'll be on the Rutland.
IPMS Rutland stand, yeah.
If I remember rightly. Didn't they win 2 or 3 or 4 years ago with their map display?
Yes, I had several models on there.
That was good. I don't even remember that one, James.
I do, yeah.
That was excellent.
I have started another one. Whether I'll get it finished before the end of the month is another thing, but that's the Rebel American torpedo boat.
Oh, right.
Black and white dazzle colours.
Yep.
So the hull is painted black and white. Just got to do the superstructure and finish it off now. Who knows? It may appear on a display base somewhere near you. Not too distant future. We'll see.
Sorry, what scale was that?
That's also 72nd, I think. Just a smaller one. So you'd have to do your eyes in trying to paint that in that scale, and then the big one.
Yeah.
The PT 109.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
It's the actual kit was reissued in a vintage type packaging a few years ago, but the way that Rebel do it rather than the way that Airfix do it. I told you it was eclectic.
A lot of people are enthusiasts of a vehicle. It seems like you've been a model maker first. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I would say model maker first, and that's driven an interest in different areas. And it certainly sparks the imagination in terms of doing the research.
You mentioned a couple of times about being involved in groups within IPMS. What made you get so involved with IPMS, and when did that start?
Well, I joined the IPMS as soon as I could drive, basically, with the intention of getting to the Nationals when it was at Stoneleigh, all those many, many moons ago. So I was quite literally 17, 18 after I passed my driving test. It was the first big show I did over at Stoneleigh. It's not that far for me. It's only about an hour or so. And gradually over the years, you build up friendships and relationships with people that you see around the show circuit. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So that's where it started from. So when would that be? That would have been about 1983.
Wow. Okay. Couple of years then.
So yeah, it's 40 years ago. My word.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, get that.
Well, I'm talking of anniversaries. So this Telford coming up is the 60th anniversary.
It's 60th anniversary of IPMS in its totality. It started off under a different guise and changed its name early into 1964. But if you take out the change of name, then it's 60 years this year.
Wow.
Right. And what can people expect to see that's different this year for the 60th anniversary?
It's really trying to build on what we picked up last year. It's as much about social interaction as it is about the quality of the models or the competition or the traders. It's a gathering of like-minded people. And we really want to push that element as the strength of the show. I actually ran the central display at the 50th anniversary, where we showed the history and the development of the hobby. So going right back to the wooden outline aircraft all the way through the development of Rebel and Airfix. And given this was 10 years ago, 3D printing as it was at that point in time. So that entire range of development, we had an awful lot of built kits so people could reminisce. We had a lot of previous national winners there as well. That's how we celebrated it then. This year, we just get people together back in strength, which seems to have worked. We're full to the gunnels. Our overseas colleagues are back in big strength this year.
Oh, that's good to see.
Yes.
Massive representation, which reinforces that social side of things.
So the return of Hall 3 being full of foreigners in the nicest and most welcoming sense.
Yes, I think everybody's looking forward to that, that's for sure.
Definitely.
And also some traders as well, I imagine.
Yes, obviously the last 2 or 3 years have been a bit of a challenge. First we had pandemic, then we had Brexit, which coincided with the VAT changes.
Yes.
And that made it incredibly difficult for people to either get into Europe or come from Europe into the UK. Don't want to get dragged into the politics, but I think there was an awful lot of misinformation on what had to be done, what you needed to do. Then you've got the interpretation of that at the ports going in both directions, not being consistent. The biggest element, I think, is the increased level of administration that the individual has to prepare if you're moving goods from Europe to the UK, particularly on the VAT side of things.
Yeah.
There is a mechanism for dealing with it, but it's just administratively very heavy.
Right. Yeah. So if you're not used to that, it might be quite difficult and challenging.
Yes. Eastern Europe in particular, they were getting charged VAT to leave the country and then VAT on the same goods to bring it back in again, which makes it impractical.
Yeah. Expensive country to visit anyway. So, well, it's great to see them back and on the map.
We're very pleased to see Edward back in particular. It's a late commitment from them, but more than welcome. Hopefully a few others will see that it can be done and join in.
Definitely.
What new traders have we got this year then?
Quite a few, some small guys, that's their first time ever to the show. There's some more familiar web-based traders. So a little company called Scaletronics, I believe they're into electronic modifications for your models.
Ooh.
The ones that you'd be more familiar with are the likes of E-Models.
Yep.
Jazlam.
Yes.
They're both coming this year. So it's the first time they've been. We have Rebel back, which is very encouraging. They've struggled with logistics and so forth for the last couple of years. Not on the same scale as they normally are, but they're back, which is very good too.
In terms of the actual organising, on Sunday they always do a really good remembrance service.
Yeah.
It's short and sweet, but it does the job. I know a lot of people who hadn't experienced a remembrance service from foreign parts remark about how poignant it is and how moving it is. And is that going to happen again?
Of course. I mean, that's never in doubt. This year, of course, the 11th is on the Saturday. So we will have 2 minutes on the Saturday, but we will have the full gantry preparations on the Sunday as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When I've actually seen the commemoration from the gantry a couple of times, and it's incredibly moving when you're up there as well. You get greater feeling for just how everything just stops dead. It's impressive when you're on the floor, but when you're up there on the gantry, it's even better. Very much a camaraderie feeling about those on the gantry.
Yeah, it's quite unique.
Yeah, I think it's a pure sign of appreciation.
Oh, yeah. The one thing that always amazes me is in those sort of circumstances, you get the odd noise or the odd bits and pieces go on. But generally speaking, at Telford, there's none of that. It's just immediate silence and silence for that period of time.
What we introduced a few years ago is, as we approach the last couple of seconds, we've got some whistles. And that was done for 2 reasons. One's to get everybody's attention. It's time to pipe down.
Yeah.
But also it was very more reminiscent of the World War I going over the top whistle, which is why it was introduced. So it serves 2 purposes.
Yeah, I hadn't thought that at all. That's great. Does everybody have a whistle then?
We've got enough so that people can hear it, let's put it that way. Not everybody's going.
Okay. That'd be quite fun to give out whistles.
We do have headsets on, so it is a coordinated thing.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah.
The amount of space you've got, because you've got 3 halls.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know how much square footage?
100,000 square foot.
There you go. Quite a few. So you've got a bit of space to cover. So that sound is not going to reach one end. So the whistle's a great idea.
When we used to have events such as kit swap in a different room altogether, you couldn't hear anything at all. So now that we're back into the 3 halls alone, it works better.
What about the competition? Do you enter anything in the competition? Are you not allowed to enter in the competition? Or?
Anybody's allowed. If you remember, you can enter. It's as simple as I don't though. I've long since entered the competition. It's not my thing, and I build for what I want to build in the way I want to build it. And if I louse it up, that's my problem. I did enter it when it was in Stoneleigh, but as we said earlier, that's a very long time ago.
A couple of years ago.
With the competition, obviously, it's down in Hall 2.
Correct.
This year again. Is that a conscious decision to bring it down into the halls?
Since we've returned from the pandemic, it started off in Hall 2. Last year it went into Hall 3. We go back to Hall 2 again this year. It does feel to be more part of the show. The compromise of that, of course, is you lose exhibitor and trader space.
Yeah.
So it is a balancing thing. Interestingly enough, according to the articles, which are signed and logged with Companies House, the only thing we have to do is run the competition. We don't have to run a nationals exhibition. We have in the past run an open competition so that anybody can enter. Whether that will return in the future, who knows? First and foremost, it's an IPMS members show. Now, that could be IPMS member for anywhere around the world, but entry is purely a valid and current IPMS membership.
Yeah, it's a big part of the show for a lot of people that I know of.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And it's one of those ongoing kind of conversations about, is it the right format and does it generate enough interest and all this sort of thing. It's the classic conversation about first, second, third, gold, silver, bronze. And we go around that argument just about every year, I think. But it is what it is for now. Nobody says it's ever going to stay as it is or it's never going to change, but always perpetual conversations.
So something I want to ask you in relation to the competition, obviously there's been a lot of conversations about competitions in the social media sphere in the last couple of months.
Yeah, particularly as a result from North America, yeah?
Yeah, the overwhelming conversations that I've had with people is around the idea of feedback. I personally like the format you use. That's not to say that any other format is not the right thing, because I've not entered into those. But feedback is really, really important, because obviously as a modeler, we want to improve. With the format of the first, second and third, we're highlighting the modelers that have reached that pinnacle. But those that don't, what's your process? Do you have any process for that?
I don't think we have anything formalised. We're as reliant on our volunteer judges as anybody else. These are coordinated by Andy, and he's the guy that runs the competition and organises what needs to happen. I don't believe anybody would be reluctant or unwilling to offer advice if asked. But I don't think we have anything to say, I'm the judge for class 15. If you've got any questions, come and give me sort of bend my ear kind of thing. I don't think there's anything formal like that. But I'm quite sure the judges would be quite willing to talk it through. I mean, the criteria are pretty well established. And I think it has to be understood. And I think in some quarters, it's not necessarily always the case. No judge can be the expert of everything. So what they're looking for is the same kind of thing. It's build quality. Have you got visible seams? What's the paint job? Is it realistic? Is it a good paint job? Is it patchy? And so on and so forth. The basic modelling criteria to establish whether or not it looks like a good model. If you was to ask me to tell you the difference between a Mark 15 and a Mark 16 Spitfire, I wouldn't know where to start. But I know when a good model looks like a good model.
Yeah.
Now I know what I'm looking for. So I don't judge either. Don't get me wrong, but as a modeler, you know what you're looking for in terms of a good thing or a better thing.
I've been a bit sneaky. The reason I've asked this question is because we floated an idea in a previous episode that we did, that when we were talking about this sort of thing, and saying that how difficult would it be to have a little card that you then pop underneath the model or next to the model for that modeler.
See where you're going with that. It's a good idea. 1,000 models on the table? Somebody's got to write the cards out.
This was my thought process. I understand that a volunteer does not want to be sat there for hours on end filling out administration. Just from my experience of being in the competitions at Telford,
Yeah.
that there is a sheet where people are marked against the criteria, etc. And I wondered whether there was the ability to put those on a card.
Oh, the marking sheets.
Yeah, so the marking sheet was a card instead of a sheet, and then the cards are collated,
Sure.
or whether that is just too complicated.
I don't know. It's a question to put to Andy, to be perfectly honest. I've got more than enough on my plate to be watching what he does in detail. So
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how he manages that, or how they collate their combined numbers at the end of the day. So it's possibly something we can investigate.
Just think it'd be really good for those modelers that want to improve their models that are on the table.
Sure.
But also, more importantly, those that come and view the models after they've been judged. Every competition, doesn't matter where you are, what the system is, there's always, well, why did that one win first prize? I don't understand.
Sure. And that's quite often a comment that's thrown at class 1 or 3, whatever. In any given year, there's always somebody a bit perplexed as to the decision making.
There's always something.
Yeah, it's a potential way of addressing that. Yeah, it seems reasonable.
Yeah. As someone that does enter the competition from time to time, when we were talking about it, I just thought, well, that might be an easy solution.
Yeah.
I say easy. It's not easy because it is heavy on the administration. Of course it is. But I know for a fact that certainly with my entries, I've gone back to the team and said to them, is there any chance you can give me some feedback on what I've done and where my scores were? And they've always been more than happy to show the sheets.
Yeah, something a little bit more structured and regular kind of thing rather than ad hoc.
Because it might increase the amount of people that enter if they're getting that feedback.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that want to enter a competition that just don't feel, A, they've got the confidence, B, what am I going to learn from it?
Fair point, James. It's one for us to put into the mix for sure.
Maybe we should get the competition secretary on. Quiz him.
Oh,
Yeah, if you can catch him, he is currently in employment of His Majesty, and he
He's in prison.
No. We'll leave it at that.
So I want to ask you about organisation as well.
Okay.
Organisation skill, organising huge national events like these. Where does one start, and why would one want to do it for free?
Very good question. You would say start at the beginning, but where is the beginning? I mentioned earlier that I stepped forward to volunteer to help for the 50-year anniversary, thinking, I could give something else back to the society. I was already running the car and motorcycle SIG at that point, but I felt I could do a little bit more, particularly with a special event coming up. I was the only one that stepped forward to help.
Right.
I thought, okay, it is what it is. I actually enjoyed that process quite a lot. Then, as every year comes around, you get the opportunity for the EC to step down. What we do is we split the roles approximately 50-50. It varies now and again. So half the executive committee step down 1 year. They have a 2-year tenure, but in that second year, the other half step down. So it's a rolling 2-year kind of process.
Mm-hmm.
And the opportunity came around, I think, and it was the secretary's position came up. I thought, I'll give that a go. It's one of those things that sort of appealed to me. I took the easy way out, if you like. I considered all the roles that were available on this EC, and I thought that's going to be the easiest one.
Really? Oh my gosh.
That's the way I saw it. What do you do as a secretary? Take minutes, which I do in my day job anyway, or was doing at one point, and you organise meetings, which is something I still do in my day job. So it's transfer of skills.
Yeah.
And just communicating as well, which I found I could probably improve a little bit. I think that's all where that came from. And then as I sort of settled into the role, a number of the various EC guys were considering whether they wanted to continue in their particular roles. At one point, I think I had 3 options on the table as to which one do I fancy the most, basically.
Yeah.
And I ended up taking on ModelWorld.
And when was that?
2020.
Yeah, the really easy year.
The pandemic year, the one that wasn't.
I'll tell you what, I take my hat off to you because, in fact, although there wasn't a show, I can imagine the stress with all the comings and goings and
Yeah, we took a decision to not run the August bank holiday, if I remember properly.
yeah.
Right up to that point is do we, don't we, do we, don't we? We weren't getting a lot of guidance from anywhere else either. And we decided the risk was too high. And then if you recall, we went into the second lockdown shortly afterwards, which pretty much made the decision for us. So yeah, yeah, it was what it was. Obviously, people disappointed they can't go to the show, but greater things take priority.
Absolutely.
Since then, it's been a process of rebuilding.
Yeah. With that in mind, the venue was quite helpful to you.
We have an extremely good relationship with the International Centre. I believe this is our 25th year at TIC as a show. We are one of the most regular shows they have. We have a great deal of collaboration with the senior management of the venue. It's business-like because it has to be. At the end of the day, there's a lot of money involved. But it's also very much a collaboration to make it work for both of us. Also, we have a rolling 3-year agreement. Now, we've made some adjustments since the pandemic to that, which they've agreed to, because it's not getting any cheaper. We can't keep putting the prices up exponentially. So we've got to cut our cloth accordingly, which is a major bone of contention for everybody, be they members of the public, be they members, be they traders. One of the processes and tasks I've given myself with the traders is to work with them more closely to try and give good value for their money. It's not a cheap weekend for these guys. The numbers are published on our webpage. So the cheapest table is £210 for the weekend.
Yeah.
Then you've got to find some accommodation. Then you've got to find some transport. You've got to find some food. You know, we can't keep fleecing traders on the view that they will pay for everything and everybody can get a freebie. It doesn't work. And as everybody knows, the price of everything keeps going up. And we're as susceptible to that as everybody else. We've got a mechanism in place with the centre in terms of the venue costs, which is in our favour at the moment. That won't last forever, but it's not going backwards.
Yeah.
The first year post-pandemic, we lost money. Last year, we broke even.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot of work involved just to even achieve that.
One of the things I remember from 2021, people were still wearing masks. Some people were, some people weren't.
Yep.
So nobody really knew what was going on. But I did notice that everyone was incredibly happy to be back.
Mm.
And,
yes.
But also I noticed, I don't know if it's just my imagination, but I noticed the corridors have gotten wider as well.
Last year they did, yes. We had a lot of gap, not this year. Within the realms of being safe.
Right.
It's crowned as crown can be crowned this year. The aisles are still principally 10, 12 foot wide. So you're going to have room. One of the reasons we don't have the under-table sales is that instantly reduces that freedom of movement.
Yeah.
And it becomes a health and safety issue, amongst other things. It's something we have to consciously be aware of. We have to monitor the traders as well, make sure they don't start taking up too much land grab and encroaching into that space that people can move around. So it is quite a challenge. No, in Hall 1 last year, there was a huge gap in the middle of the hall. That's gone.
Well, I quite liked having that kind of concourse there. Became almost like a meeting area.
Yes, yeah.
You know, there's lots of people standing around in that one area. I guess a good marker of how good the show is because people wanted to be back.
Well, it comes back to what I was saying about the 60th. It was really noticeable last year and the previous year, as you mentioned, that people just were glad to be there, glad to be socialising, glad to be talking rubbish about the same rubbish. You know, it's an environment that people were just happy to be in.
Across the pond, their shows are quite different. They last a lot longer. Would you ever be tempted, do you think, to make it more than a weekend? Do you think the weekend is the best format there is?
Comparing what we do to the way the Americans have done it is like comparing chalk and cheese. To say this is better, that is better, I don't think is fair on either side of the equation because they're different. The American system, as it has been very much focused on the competition. Anybody that's seen discourse on Facebook of late, on the American pages in particular, will realise just how that can go. And the Americans have a longer event because it takes longer to get to the venue. It's a much bigger country. It takes a long while to get there. You've got to make it worth your while.
Oh, that's a good point.
So there's other things going on, and it becomes a major break for them to go and attend. So it's not just the 2 days of the show. It could be 4 or 5 days, depending on what else they want to include whilst they've made that effort. Somebody in this country will complain about travelling 2 hours. Well, that's just the trip to the store in the States.
Mm.
What is interesting, though, in next year, is it Wisconsin they're in next year? They're actually trying to get more branches and SIGs involved. So trying to get that social side, that non-competition element into the show. Hats off to them for trying something different to see how it works for them.
Mm.
We can learn off each other. We had 3 of their EC guys. We had quite a long chat with them last year at Telford. It was really constructive. And I know our guys went over to their nationals this year and continued that kind of conversation, taking best practice from each other. Things are evolving all the time. So it's nothing to say, as I said earlier, nothing's set in stone.
That's interesting. Talking about the social side of things and the fact that they include museums. Do you have a museum relatively close to Telford?
Yeah, down at Cosford, yeah.
It might be an angle to go for, to give that extra.
Again, it's that time element, isn't it? It's this British perception of time and distance and effort.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people go to Cosford on the Friday before they go and set up, before they even attend the show on the Saturday.
Yeah.
It's there, and as you say, it's on the doorstep. So it's achievable off your own bat, if you like.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with the amount of days that the American nationals have. And if I went over to the nationals, then I'd be there for more than 3 or 4 days because of the distance involved. And yeah, you're right that we have
a different perception of the whole process.
A perception, yeah, absolutely. And a couple of hours for us sat on the M25 on the way to Telford.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see how that cross-pollination between the two sides of the pond, from the communication you're having and stuff, has to see what may develop in the next few years.
It's one worth watching for. It's encouraging, very encouraging.
Because the other thing they do is they do seminars as well, don't they, and that sort of thing.
The last couple of events, we've had some guest speakers in a breakout room that have done a couple of talks. I think we did 2 on the Saturday and 2 on the Sunday last year. Because of what we try and squeeze into 2 days, trying to put too much on in that kind of way, it's not easy.
Yeah.
We've had the similar kind of conversations around demonstrations and these sorts of things. Do we put in a stage so that the traders or whoever wants to come and give a display? Or do we leave it as it is, where they do the demonstrations on their respective stands? These are all the sorts of things that go on anyway. Do we need to try and coordinate that a bit better? Do we need to put on separate events? These are conversations that we're having internally, not necessarily coming up with a conclusion as yet, but I've put the feelers out for both. To be honest, I haven't had a great deal of feedback. So it's a willingness to commit to doing that, I think. Maybe I asked a little bit too early in the process. I'll try again before we get there. It's something different to look at and to focus your mind on. I mean, you can only spend so much time spending money after all.
What I was saying earlier about the competitions and feedback and that sort of thing, workshops would be great. That does need someone to volunteer for it, or a trader to wish to do something around that. I thought that was a really good idea and adds up a big bonus.
I think it's a style that's very popular in Europe as well. But we haven't picked up on within our show. And I think that's an area we can improve in. And I've had discussions over the last 2 or 3 years on that kind of topic. But again, it hasn't materialized into something constructive just yet. But never say never.
No.
I think that the way that I see it, you put on this venue, you allow clubs and SIGs to come and set up their tables however they like. So you don't get involved in teaching people how to make models. You don't get involved in that side of things. You put on the space to be able to do a show, but you don't organize things that the traders and the hobbyists could organize themselves.
Fair comment.
Yeah, but I mean that's good, because it means you're kind of just all about the hobby, about the model making, rather than focusing on aircraft or armor or sci-fi or something.
I'm glad you said that, Mal, because we have been called the International Plane Makers Society before now.
Well, aircraft making is very popular. I see it myself. The amount of model kits that we go through at M4H, it's all aircraft. People are interested in aircraft and ships, sailing ships, but that's usually when people haven't really built many aircraft. And I think it might be because aircraft are in the sky and easy to see. I'm guessing. But I noticed you've got MAFA as guests.
Yes, we have a reciprocal arrangement with MAFA, so we have a stand at their show. They have one at ours, and that works quite nicely for us.
the UK version of AMPS, isn't it? You said.
Obviously, very much focused on the military vehicles. We also have the Great War Aviation Society, that used to be called Cross and Cockade. So they have a space for it with us as well.
Yep, great.
The other guests that we have are principally, I think they're IPMS members, but with a very special interest in something that they can put a display on their own. We have a limited number of those dotted around the halls. So the likes of Phil Cocky.
Oh, yes. Yep. Colin Morgan.
Barry Sharman. So they've all got displays dotted around the halls as well.
And Kristen Ray's Maritime Roadshow.
Indeed.
Yes.
I wonder what that is.
Who knows? God, they got a lot of tables, so
big ships, basically, I think.
It's quite exciting. Tell us about entry and everything. So if you're an IPMS member, you're getting free.
On the Friday setup, there are 4 people per group allowed to go and set up early. That will be from 4 p.m. on the Friday. You've got 3 hours to get set up. The halls close at 7, if I remember correctly.
Right.
If it was a provincial show on a Sunday, you'd do that in 25, 30 minutes. You've got plenty of time. Okay, Telford, you'll probably put a little bit of extra effort into it. No trading on Fridays. We encourage the traders in early to leave early so that you're not tempted to go window shopping. So that's the Friday, effectively. The same people can get in at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. So you can finish off getting your stand set up with new arrivals on the Saturday morning. That's down to the groups to organise for themselves and coordinate amongst themselves to how they get the kits into the show.
Really buzzing morning, isn't it? Saturday morning.
Yeah, it's quite busy, yeah. But the doors will be shut at 8:45 prompt. If you're not in the building with a setup wristband at that point, tough. You're going to have to go to the front doors and join the queue with everybody else. You're not getting preferential treatment because you've got an exhibitor wristband. So all members go in together.
You have been warned.
Yeah.
It is one of the few edicts from the venue that they need 15 minutes sealed before they open up the front doors. 9 o'clock, doors open to the members, all hell breaks loose. 10 o'clock, the public can get entry.
How much is it on the door if you're not an IPMS member?
Tickets are pre-booked online. You can go through our webpage to find the links for that. Total cost this year is £23. So it's £20 plus £3 booking. And that's all handled by a third party to us. So we don't handle that side of it at all. That's why the booking fee is there.
Now, am I right in thinking that you could buy a ticket on your phone in the queue?
Absolutely. Yep. Nothing's stopping you doing that at all. All you need is evidence of that, which should come through back onto your phone anyway. And then the venue actually check the barcode or whatever it is that you receive to go into the venue. So it's completely isolated from IPMS on that process.
Sorry, I interrupted you. So yes, the Saturday, 10 o'clock, everyone piles in.
Yeah, 6 o'clock is closed. The competition area will obviously close in the afternoon on Saturday for judging. This year, if you look on the plan, we've actually got traders around the outside of the competition area as well.
Yes, we do, yeah.
Being able to stand and look over the barriers to see what the judges are doing is going to be quite difficult this year as well.
Unless you're one of the traders.
You should be busy looking the opposite direction.
I suppose they should be. Yes. Well, I remember last year is you could walk right past and see everything all in one go. And there was no privacy, for the judges.
I think they need to be allowed to focus on the job in hand. They don't need people leaning over the shoulder and pointing them in directions and that sort of thing. So I think it's only reasonable to let them get on with the job.
I've written that down, Malcolm.
You frowned upon, did see, I think. It's the £5 note folded up underneath. Got told off for.
Only a fiver, that's what the problem was.
Right.
Then basically Sunday's a repeat of Saturday. Same thing, 8 o'clock. I may delay that a little bit. There's no reason to be in there early, but it's a question of getting people through the doors that are on the setup crews. Again, same rules apply. Once you've got your wristband on, keep it on for the duration of the weekend. If you lose it, you're paying full price to get in. It's as simple as that. So there's no need to take the wristbands off. They don't fall off. They don't come off in the shower. There's no reason to take it off if you're there for both days. 8 o'clock, maybe 8:15 on the Sunday. 8:45, the doors will shut again. 9 o'clock, the doors open to the membership. 10 o'clock, the doors open to the public. 11 o'clock will be remembrance. Shortly after that, we normally have a non-denominational service for those that wish to partake. And then shortly after that will be the award ceremony for the competition, so that people get a chance to see them. Try not to take the competition entries until much later in the day. It's quite important, as towards the end of the day, some people have got a long distance to travel, but there are also members of the public in the show who have paid to see the models. Breaking down and packing away early is not fair on them either. And as we've mentioned, at £23 to see them, they need to get their money's worth, really. 4 o'clock, end of show. Nobody's leaving the halls until after 4:30. You can go out in the main entrance, the normal pedestrian access with the models in your hand, but the rear hall is not opening up until everybody's out the hall. 4:30, all the public have to be out, all the children have to be out. Insurance requirements about people occupying the halls.
Wow. Right. Yeah.
Then we can start opening up the fire exit so people can get out. No major dismantling of the stands until 5 o'clock, I believe. So if you've got a major construction, you shouldn't be taking that down while there's a lot of people walking around. And then by that point, most people will be finished anyway, to be fair. Traders can start dismantling their big stands. And then 5:30, all things being equal and the centre being happy, we will then allow the traders to start bringing vehicles in.
Wow. Yeah, when you start talking about the insurance requirements and security requirements and things like that, as well as everyone's voices asking for this and that and the other, and more wristbands and less wristbands, and what's mine in the shower.
It's a professional venue at the end of the day. They have expectations and requirements to comply with. That's what they make their money at. There are things that have to be done. Complete exterior of the venue is under the control of the centre. Our areas of control are purely within the building. So when people start having issues about people not parking in the right places, so on and so forth, then that's a venue issue. We obviously talk with them quite a lot, as I mentioned earlier, about what we can do to make things easier for everybody, to get a flow of traffic moving around as best we can.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's their responsibility.
Yeah, traffic it can be difficult, can't it? Especially when you get coming in on the morning and trying to get there early so you don't have to queue up.
We had issues last year, which was down to poor communications. That will be addressed this year.
Okay. Well, I didn't see that because I was already in there.
Practically all day Friday, there was different issues at different times. Same basic issue of communication.
Yeah. Well, Rich, I take my hat off to your organisation skills and the way that you calmly deal with all these things, because I do wonder how you keep it all, and what magic potion that you take to not let it get to you.
Well, I think a lot of it probably comes down to the day job, because don't forget, we're all volunteers at the end of the day. Some of us have retired. Some of us are still 9 to 5 in. My day job, I'm in the food industry. So you have to be on your toes at all times. You have to be organised. You have to be planned and up and ready to move. And it's that transfer of skills that I referred to earlier. And that's probably how I keep my head, because I'm used to doing it.
To relax, then you'll go and organise a national scale model show.
Kick back and organise the biggest show of its type. Yeah.
The one thing that has always amazed me with IPMS Telford show is I'm sure it's not, but it seems to me a little bit like a graceful swan. I'm sure there's lots of paddling going on beneath the water, but it seems to be seamless. It seems to always just work well.
Well, I've taken over the role from guys that have established that protocol, that process. I've just picked up on what they've done before. Hopefully, I've added my own little nuances and tweaks to that to make it better still. Last year, I sent a questionnaire out to the traders during the show asking for feedback. What could we do better for them? Which I had a good response to. I processed that within 3 days of getting home and fed back to the traders what they were telling me, because that meant that they knew that I'd taken on board what they'd said, but it was also in place to build on for this year.
Yeah.
Rather than leaving it until March and everybody forgetting what their experiences were.
Yeah, very important, that feedback. Very important.
It was very important. Whether I run it again this year, I'm not so sure, because you can't do it every year because it'll be the same thing. Some of the areas for improvement were glaringly obvious, but it doesn't do any harm to ask them to tell us. But I think I've addressed them this year. So if I've addressed those, then hopefully there won't be so many this year, and so on and so forth. We have put out a questionnaire to the members. If you remember, you would have had an email with a link to an online questionnaire for the reasons that I alluded to earlier. Things can't stand still. We've got to cut our cloth accordingly. That's actually quite a challenging position right now.
Lots of voices, lots of opinions.
And relating what they want to what we can do, maybe not on the same page. Well, just to put some numbers on it for you, we've got over 200 SIGs and branches. We've got 120 plus traders. We've got something approaching 1,600 tables, as many chairs that all have to be in place for 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, and we don't get the venue until Friday morning. It's an awful lot of work. It's a massive team effort, and it's not a one-man show. Please don't believe that it is, because we need and we rely and we thoroughly appreciate the help we get from the volunteers that come forward to help. It's as much their show as it is ours, and that's what they put into it.
In the opposite
They're
direction.
there first thing Friday morning setting tables out. And I've got a team of hall managers making sure everybody's happy during the show, hopefully, and keeping everything moving smoothly. I just sit or wander around with 2 headsets on, listening to what's going on,
Smiling.
trying to.
Yes, absolutely.
Some say it's wind, but there we go.
I'll get you some what was that stuff you give babies to make them?
Gripe water.
Gripe water. Gosh, yeah, that's it. That's the stuff. So how many volunteers are there for Telford then?
I think the numbers will probably be 30 to 50, I guess, on the Friday. During the show itself, because we don't have the kit swap this year, because we don't have money collecting on the front doors, we don't need so many during the show this time around, or the last couple of times. So that's easy, the pressure off of everybody committing to doing something. But we still have 6 hall managers permanently doing the job, anybody in yellow. So that the 6 hall managers, we have Liz, who's absolutely stalwart front of house. And if you want somebody to smile, that's Liz for you. Always smiling, very helpful, greets everybody in, absolutely in total control up there. And then, of course, you've got the rest of the executive committee. So there's another, I think there's 12 of us in total, if we're all there.
Yeah. And how many models are you going to be bringing to show?
Oh, good question. Most of mine will be on the F1 and motorsport table, funnily enough.
Ah, there you go.
They're celebrating the 100 years of Le Mans, funnily enough. So I have a goodly number to contribute to that. Rutland will have some on. I've got something on the Army Air Corps stand. You may even have one on the MFH stand, Malcolm.
There might be one there, yes.
Yes, might be one on there.
If you finish it.
Well, it's fully finished on the exterior.
Thank you very much for your time, mate.
No problem.
We'll put you back under the tarp.
Along with my biscuit crumbs.
Are you doing a tarp build?
No, I haven't done. No, I haven't done one. I've been busy with something else. I don't know what it was.
Let's get a hobby, Rich.
Yeah, that's what it is. You're not the first one to suggest that today, actually.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
Take care. What a great opportunity to see inside the world of organisation for a major event, one in which we love and cherish, not only for the joy of plastic, but the wonderful social event that it is for all of us.
It's refreshing to hear that Richard wants to think forward and be open to the ever-changing opinions of us model makers. With the power of such a social event, sharing the joy and pleasure that our hobby gives us is something we all look forward to far more than Christmas.
Next, I would just be making conversation about other subjects relating to this daft hobby of ours. You've been listening to Just Making Conversation with
James Skiffins.
And Malcolm Childs.
Follow us on Facebook.
Find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and all the others.
Let us know what you're just making and what your thoughts are on the conversation in this episode.
A massive thank you to the following supporters from paypal.me/podcastjmc and also patreon.com/justmakingconversation, don't you know?
Chris McLean, Philippe Lafreniere, Johan. Hang on, you haven't done these names for ages. It's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I just, sort of sharing the load. But anyway. Johan Frenson, Mike Beep Stucker, Mike Shelley, Mark, Harriet, Elliot Capredi, Adam Kieran, Druster Lagoon, Craig Nichols, Elliot Robert Lane, Dean Ivana Build Model Kit, Callum from Micro Machines Podcast, Paint All the Minis Peter, Brad Warren, Tim Black Rifle, John Julian Chuck, Mark Becca Wahi, Simon the Jersey Gent, Steve Lee Costas, Mark Ray Neal, Twice, Mike of Robert, Andrew Chu, John, Mike, Jeff, Richard, Lynn, Gordon, and 7 others.
I just want to ask, Chris McLean, is that from a very famous Christmas movie?
No. John McLean.
That's his brother, Chris.
Yep. He's the one who didn't go up the tower.
Mm-hmm. If you do show your support, leave your name and we will paint it on the Roll of Honour on the tail of the next episode.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Could you imagine? That'd be another thing, wouldn't it? Hey, if you had a sea diorama, make it smell like the sea.
Oh,
you have a little bit of dead fish underneath. Bit of dead fish and a bit of seaweed. Oh, it feels like I'm leaving there, couple of syringes, discarded, depending what beach you're at. Anyway, that'll do.